Oklahoma is the talk of the town across the entire SEC. I think it's the fact they got John Mateer. He's bringing some new swagger. He's got the headband. You got Jaden Ott. But we want to know, in Brent Venables' third season here, is Oklahoma a dark horse in their second season in the SEC?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it comes on a couple factors. I think that, they have an opportunity to build a impressive resume. And I think it comes down to the strength of schedule that they have. And I think that they're going to drastically improve from last season, especially offensively. I'm going to go out on a limb and say something pretty agreeable that Oklahoma had probably one of the worst offenses last year. Not their fault. They suffered from, all kinds of injuries. The O-line was banged up. The wide receiver core was banged up. They really didn't even look like what going into the season they thought they were going to be. And now they pick up quarterback that you're high on, John Mateer. They pick up the running back Jaden Ott out of Cal, coming off of an injury. So they're going to look drastically different. So I think that they're going to be coming from a bit of an underdog Cinderella spot and have opportunity to make waves.
Yeah, I think that it's this unknown with what Mateer brings. Obviously, he balled out at Washington State. Like, you got Deion Burks coming back this year. He went down early last year with an injury at receiver. And you got Isaiah Sategna coming in from Arkansas, a huge contributor from the receiving core. The main crutch last year was that offensive line, one of the worst in the country. You talked about the offense. They all return as starters, and they have several transfers. So I'm kind of leaning into the fact that they got their feet wet last year with being SEC linemen. This isn't the Big 12 anymore. You're not playing Kansas State. You're not playing, the Houstons. I guess they did play Houston last year, but you're not playing, the Cincinnatis of the world. This is the SEC. These guys are mean. And then this defensive line is really, really good. They picked up the transfer lineman, I want to say, from Bama or from I think it was Georgia, actually. And they have another defensive lineman that's coming back who had 9 sacks last year. So this defense is going to be mean. That's what Venables does. You pair it with what looks to be a more impressive offense. I think they're absolutely a dark horse. Like, it's a team that you don't want to sleep on. And like you said, they have a lot of tough games. And then you add that Michigan game where if Michigan happens to be good, that's your anchor win to keep you kind of in the standings when it comes to the college football playoff and the SEC.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone listening to think we're going crazy talking about Oklahoma in the playoffs, because I think it's a realistic expectation for this team based on a couple things. We saw last season some teams sitting on the outside looking in from the SEC at 9-3. I don't think that there's a strong rule or will be no teams that are 9-3 in the playoffs. I think that there's an opportunity for a 9-3 team to make it in. It would be a team that has quality wins and quality losses, like what Oklahoma could potentially put out this season. Alabama last year suffered from some bad losses. So did Ole Miss. This Oklahoma team, they play, like you said, Michigan as an anchor game. They'll play Texas, South Carolina, Alabama, LSU. So even if they lose some games in there, but win some, they're going to put together an impressive resume where the losses aren't that bad. And I think that the offense is going to actually be pretty good. Like, I think they're going to be good, and the defense is only going to get better because they're returning so much.
I don't see how the offense couldn't be good. They have the same offensive coordinator that, Mateer played with at Washington State. It's now the OC over at Oklahoma. So it's like, as long as he does what he did there, they should be good. They're going to play some tough defenses. Texas is going to have the number one defense in the conference. You got Colin Simmons coming off the edge. South Carolina will have a pretty good defense. You still have Dylan Stewart. Ole Miss and Tennessee, we don't know, but Tennessee typically has a pretty good defense. But I think, if they can go through the schedule, the LSU game will be the one that's interesting to me. I think what they do against LSU, last year they played them pretty close and lost, but if they beat LSU, that'll say a lot for me for this team.
Yeah, I think mine's gonna be Texas. I'm gonna say something big and bold about the Texas game.
Ooh, Red River rivalry.
There's an opportunity for Oklahoma to come into this game 5-0. Like, I don't think it's an unreasonable thing for Oklahoma to come into this game 5-0. You beat Michigan, you beat Auburn. That's really what you have ahead of you. You come off of a bye week playing Texas, who's leaving the swamp the week before. We don't know what Florida's going to look like, but Texas could come into this game banged up. They could come off of maybe a disappointing performance, maybe a good performance, and come in, lazy against Oklahoma. I doubt it, but they're going to be coming off of a tough game the week before. That's going to be a huge game for the way this season shakes out. And we don't know what Texas will look like at that point, having to play both on the road at Ohio State and Florida.
And you got to think all the talk that week, this stuff might not matter to certain players, but all the talk that week's going to be about Arch. It'll be about, Oklahoma, if they're 5-0, but it'll be about Arch. It'll be about, oh my God, Arch's first Red River rivalry. Texas is, 5-0. What are they going to? Is Arch going to win its first Red River rivalry trophy? Right? It almost could be fuel for Oklahoma to say, you know what? Let's take back what's ours. Let's take back what we won a couple of years ago with Dylan Gabriel. What we've proven to be able to win with Baker Mayfield and be able to win with Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. Let's go ahead and get ours. We finally got our quarterback. We usually have a better quarterback than Texas. We usually have a good defense. Or now we have a good defense with Venables. Let's take back what's ours. So I could easily see that being one of the main pillar games of the season outside of all the things that come with that rivalry as well.
Yeah, don't sleep on Oklahoma. Anyone who's maybe counting them out year 2 in the SEC, don't sleep on them. I think they're going to give a lot of teams trouble this year at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU. I think everyone's going to understand what this team could potentially do under the new offensive look that they're going to bring. Now, I want to see the wide receiver room come together. A lot of, I don't want to say unproven, but it's not a lot of returning production. It's production coming from elsewhere. Deion Burke's coming off of injury. So that's what I think I'm going to hinge my future opinion on for this team is what they will look like once this wide receiver room comes together.
Yeah, and I think for me it's still the O-line. I think having experience is good, but it was bad experience last year. So I'm kind of looking for them to improve. And I'm a believer. I think it helps to have more experience there. But they also had four transfers come in. So if the guys that played last year are not doing that as effective, they can of course play the transfers. But it's gonna come down to the trenches. I mean that's the name of the game in the SEC. I know they have the skills across the board, and we'll see what it looks like from an O-line perspective.
Absolutely.
But tell us what y'all think here. We both think they're a dark horse in the SEC. I think the SEC media team kind of voted them around 8 or 9 in the preseason poll. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, let us know. If you're another fan of a different team in the SEC, let us know where you think Oklahoma sits on your list. And thank you for tuning in as usual. It's the new SEC podcast. I'm Randall Odette Jr. We got Hunter Eastman here.